afternoon, Darlington County School District. Welcome back to the first in the know of the 2022-2023 school year. I'm Dr. Tim Newman, Superintendent for the school district, because I know there's some people out there that may not know who I am that are new to our district, and I want to say welcome. We are glad to have you. We're looking forward to meeting and learning as much about each one of you as we can. I hope you've had a great start to the school year. We're almost a month into the school year. We are just about to complete our 4th week. And so, again, great start. You all have done an awesome job on helping our kids get acclimated, but just more importantly, getting into our routines and schedules. First thing I wanted to be able to talk to you about is our latest board meetings that we've had. We've had 2 board meetings in the month of August. And so at our regular board meeting on August the 8th, we had a couple policy changes. One of those had to do with dress code, so we made some modification to our dress codes and cell phone policies as far as infractions and consequences. For example, skirt and short lengths. Instead of it being either fingertips or 3 inches above the knee, we're using both of those as measures to be a little bit more flexible to meet our students' needs. There's not significant changes to the dress code, but those are just a couple of the minor ones. Again, I'm sure your principals and supervisors have also had a chance to go over this with you. We've also modified our cell phone infractions to again help everybody at the school level to make it a little bit smoother when we are dealing with the use of cell phones. So again, if you haven't heard from your principal about these changes, please make sure to ask them about that so they can give you the latest information. We also had calendar changes that were approved by the board. So as you remember, we had to make up a professional development day because we had to use Election Day in November as a day off. And so because of that, we had to fit a professional development day in. You were sent a survey. Overwhelmingly, 2-1, the choice was for January 2nd to move from a day off to a professional development day. So we have 2 professional development days in a row on January 2nd and January 3rd. Also, the following school year, the 23-24 school year, we moved the start date back a week as well as the end date. So now the following school year's calendar lines up identically with start dates that we had this year and end dates. The key thing is that we will be ending before Memorial Day in the 23-24 year, just like we are this year and this past year as well. Another policy that the board passed had to do with the naming of facilities and what that looks like, and just in general terms that we're moving away from naming facilities after people and more towards geographic areas. And so there were just some modifications to that particular policy. At the board work session on the 22nd of August, general conversations, but we did have conversations specifically about safety and security, and then also about mental health supports and some of the various operations projects that are going on around the district. So safety and security, let me first say that that is the number one goal that I have this year is safety and security. You heard me say this at our back to school convocation meeting, and I continue to reiterate this at every meeting that I am in, that my number one goal is to make sure we're doing everything we can to improve safety and security in our school district. And so that means putting in systems such as the Raptor system that you all are being trained on. So I know that Captain Kim Nelson is making her rounds to the different schools, so everybody has access to the Raptor app to have a notification system that is generated through this app, but this app also notifies many other people at the same time in case there is an emergency. And I think that is a really good piece to have in place. So not only will you be notified, whether it be through a PA system or through phone messages or emails, but there's also an app now that we use that will give you more information about anything particular going on in an emergency. Other things that we're doing as far as safety and security, we have ordered weapons detectors for all of our middle and high schools. And so that order was placed back in July. The board actually had a demonstration on these devices in late June. We had to work through the procurement process for a couple weeks, and then we ordered devices in July. Unfortunately, a lot of other people across the country are ordering the same devices as well. So we are hoping to have those in as soon as possible. Right now, it's tentatively looking like it would be the middle of October, but it also could be sooner. So just know, the second that those arrive in Darlington County, we will be having training sessions, and we will be putting out that word for all of our faculty and staff in our school buildings. Right now they're set up to be, because they are portable, they can actually do checks any given time during the school day, on any hallway, through any door. So again, random checks. If you look across the state and across the country, that's what most people are doing, is putting these in to be used randomly. So there is no set schedule that people would be able to lock into. And again, a class bell could ring in a given hallway or building, and the weapons detectors will be set up, and all students will have to walk through those, and staff members. So again, we're looking forward to getting these as soon as possible. Also, these portable weapons detectors can be used at athletic events. So we will certainly implement those at our football games, in our stadiums this fall, as well as basketball games. I know one question our elementary school people have is, why not us? And again, our first focus when the board took this topic up was on students being in possession of a weapon. And we knew that our critical places that could possibly happen were high schools and middle schools. We will certainly keep our elementary schools in mind as well. A little bit different use there versus student use. That's more for visitor use. But that is certainly a topic that is being discussed by the board as we continue to evolve with all of our safety and security processes. Also, I have asked for extra SROs to be placed at our larger high schools. I have talked with our law enforcement agencies about this. I actually made that request at the end of last year, and we are waiting for additional SROs at our large high schools. We're also looking at campus supervisors, additional campus supervisors, but also potentially implementing campus supervisors at our middle schools as an extra set of eyes and ears. And so, again, we are looking at many different ways to increase the presence of law enforcement and safety and security personnel. Also, you've heard my message about how we plan to handle consequences for students that participate in activity that disrupts our schools. We need to make sure all of our students that want to be in school are safe and that they are in an environment they can be safe in. I've been very clear with all of our principals, especially our high schools and middle schools, about consequences, that they should make sure that we are sending the message that students are not going to be allowed to be on our campuses, for example, and get into multiple fights. That's not going to happen. We realize that that will put a potential strain on our alternative school, but again, if that's what it takes, then that's what we will do. The alternative school is in place for a reason. And so we've had some people ask, well, why are we just not expelling kids out of the school district? Well, that defeats the purpose of having an alternative school. So that is there as a last stop for students that have not been able to function in the regular school setting, for high school and middle school students. It's there for a purpose, and students are allowed to earn their way back if they do everything they need to do at the alternative school. And if they don't, then there are no alternatives to the alternative school. So again, something we're closely monitoring, and we will continue to address. And I do want you to remember this. Over 98% of our students have had a great start to this school year and are glad to be in school and are glad to be around their friends and are having a great time being back to school. So let's not let the less than 2% give us the story about our school district. That's just not the case. I'm focused on the 98+% of the students that are having a great start to their school year. I hope you will join me in the same. We also had discussions about clear bag procedures for our athletic events. So again, the Darlington County School District implemented this a couple years ago, but we do have a clear bag procedure for everybody in attendance at our home football games and our home basketball games. So just be aware that is out there if you plan on attending any of our football games this coming Friday or potentially throughout the rest of the fall, that we do have that clear bag procedure in place. If you have any questions about it, there's information on the website as well as at your school too. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the COVID leave that we had in place was for the 21-22 school year. And so it was, all along it had been set to expire at the end of the 21-22 school year. As you know, across the state, that has been the same for every school district. So COVID leave is no more in the Darlington County School District, as it's no more in every other school district in South Carolina. So it did expire at the end of the school year, which in our mind took place at the very beginning of this school year. So just know that we are still tracking COVID cases. So if you have a positive test from your health care provider, similar to any other medical leave, anything over 3 days, you will have that note from your medical provider plus the test. Let your principal know. They will let us know. And again, you are able to take medical leave for anything along the lines that there's a medical note from a provider with. DHEC has changed their guidance as well. They are no longer tracking close contacts. They are also not suggesting social distancing or anything else or mask wearing at this point in time. So those are changes that were made by the CDC and by DHEC. And so we are moving forward in the endemic phase versus the pandemic phase that we were in before. So again, we will get through this part of it, and we will look forward to not having to have many COVID conversations in the near future. So again, full month of information from 2 board meetings as well as the start of school. Again, I'm encouraged about the start that we have had. I've talked to so many people and in various roles throughout the district that have said that this has been the smoothest start that they've experienced in many years. And so that has been the case for the majority of all of us. And I look forward for that to continue. Again, remember the 3 goals that I addressed in our back to school convocation: safety and security, mental health supports, and parental guardian involvement. And so we will continue to work on all 3 of those goals together from a district level, from a school level, and of course from a community level as well. So I wish you the best as you get closer to your Labor Day holiday. I hope you have a great long weekend for that Labor Day holiday. And most importantly, again, as I always say, hug on your family members. Tell them how much you love them. Tell them how much we appreciate them sharing you with us. And just have a wonderful rest of this week. And we'll see you next time.